Hello and welcome to Treasure in Every Verse. I'm your host, author and Bible teacher, Kevin Madison. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, friends, we're back, and my apologies for the issues that we had with the connection last time. But here we are, and what I want to show you is this. We're talking about the law and grace and the relationship that the believer has with the law. And the law that most people think about isn't necessarily the law that's talked about in, well, it is, but not in the way that you normally think about the law. What do I mean? What I mean is most people, when they think about the law, how do they view the law? They view the law as the Ten Commandments. They view the law as the Sabbath. They view the law as the dietary commandments given to us in the scriptures. Rarely, very rarely do anybody, and as a matter of fact, when I think about it, I've never heard anybody talk to me about the law this way. Do anybody talk about the law as being the sacrifices? Why? Because in their mind, it's totally separate from the law, but not in the book. You see, and that's the problem. The problem is understanding and having the right relationship with the law. Now, how does the Bible describe the law? The Bible describes that there are two laws, and there have always been two laws, just two, friends. Okay? Look at this. It's over in Romans chapter 8, and then I just wrote it here because I don't want to go there because I know if I go there, I'm going to end up explaining it again. There's two. There's the law of sin and death. The law of sin and death. Then there's the law of the spirit of life. One law brings or identifies you and I as a sinner. And because it identifies us as a sinner, all it can bring is death. The other law, it also recognizes you and identifies you as a sinner. However, the spirit of that law kills and make alive. I wound and I heal. I create and I destroy. Friend, this law can't do that. That law can. Which one are you under? That's the issue here. So listen to Paul. I, through the law, died. You see that right there? What happened to Paul? Paul died, friends. What happens to every single believer? You better die, or you're not even a believer. I don't care how many times you pray some prayer, how many times you go to some church assembly, read the Bible, watch videos like this. It doesn't matter. What does that have to do with you dying? Nothing. Paul says that I, through the law. The question, friends, is what law? That one. It's the law of the spirit of life. Through the law of the spirit of life, what happened to you, Paul? I died to the law. Which law now is he making reference to? Which one? He's talking now about this one right here. Through the law of the spirit of life, I died to the law of sin and death. Friends, This is how you study the book. Now, let me run over to Romans 8 and show it to you. God pointed this out for us. We don't have to guess on this stuff, friends. It's right here in the book. What you have to do, though, is study it and read it and ask the Spirit of God to give you understanding. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to who? The Spirit. Now watch this. For now he begins to explain how this can be true. Why won't God condemn somebody who is absolutely, positively guilty of sin? Why won't you do that, God? Here's the answer. For I, through the law, through the law, died to the law. Galatians 2:19. Here is what God is talking about. He himself, God, explained Galatians 2:19 for you in Romans 8. Why isn't anyone who is in Christ Jesus condemned, judged guilty for their own sins? It's according to the Spirit. What did the Spirit do? For the law, here is law number one, of the Spirit of life, and it is only located where? In Christ Jesus. Same thing he says down here. What happened? It has made me free. How do you become free? And free from what? This second law. What is that? The law of sin and death. Do you see it? Now,